The governing All Progressives Congress has held its 12th National Executive Committee meeting, otherwise called NEC. It's first after the 2023 elections. At the meeting, the party's NEC appointed and ratified the appointment of former governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, as chairman, and Bashiru Ajibola, former Senate spokesperson, as national secretary. President Tinubu, while commending the National Working Committee for a job well done in holding forth for the NEC, said he brought the renewed hope mantra to fulfill the dreams and aspirations of both the party faithful and Nigerians. The APC now has a substantive chairman who's promised to, among other things, promote party unity, maintain internal democracy, and carry out reforms which include the establishment of a progressive institute to teach members the tenets of internal democracy. It's expected that the leadership will now focus on harmonizing its activities to fulfill its promises to Nigerians.
I brought before you the renewed hope to fulfill your dreams and the dreams of our founding fathers. To be sure that Nigeria remains the focal point of our foreign and domestic policy.
With boundless gratitude for the confidence placed in me by leaders and members of our party, and with an absolute resolve to honor that trust, I humbly accept my appointment as the chairman of our party.
Well, a very upbeat President Bola Tinubu there. He was quite adamant on the necessity for the removal of petrol subsidy on the occasion of his first address to the National Executive Committee meeting of the party. Well, joining us to actually talk more about this and some other trending stories in Nigeria at the moment is Kasim Afegbua, and he's a member of the ruling All Progressives Congress. Good to see you, and thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yes, I also recall you were a publisher on of a magazine that dealt on African affairs. So pretty much later we'll talk about the brewing crisis in Niger and what the subcontinent is doing on that. But again, your party finally, because I recall you are very big on internal democracy, that actually saw you rather move from the APC to the PDP, and you're back to your party now. And Abdullahi Ganduje has spoken about the need for that to be strengthened. Speak to us on the outcome of today's NEC, because for some, they still thought that this was just a selection process.
Thank you for the opportunity for this discussion slide. The government is just taking off, and following the resignation of the former national chairman and the secretary, it is auspicious for the leadership of the country and the party to come up with a new leadership that will fill that vacuum, and also get the politics right. There are two things for a president. You need to get your governance structure right, and you get your political structure right. So rather than have a vacuum, particularly when the acting national chairman was nominated for ministerial position, you need to fill that position with a substantive chairman and secretary, so that they can preside over the affairs of the party and contribute to the national conversation and the renewed hope agenda of the president. Don't forget that political party plays a very formidable role in ensuring that manifestos of individual candidates or winners of election, and even the party itself, are followed through, to the letters. That's the only way the public and the people can actually benefit from a document that was sold to them during the campaigns. So this is not a new idea. It's not surprising that you have a new chairman, new secretary, and all of that. I think once there is peace in the party and there's some level of stability, it also affords the president the opportunity to sit back and interrogate other issues and try to dissect the problems confronting us with a view to profiling solutions that will have far-reaching impact on the well-being of the citizenry.
You know, some of the key concerns, now you've highlighted, you just exposed why the regions were brought into play here, knowing full well that the former chairman was from North Central.
North Central,
yes.
Yeah.
And your new chairman is from Northwest. So many would want to know how, you know, the dynamics were arrived at, because some thought that since it was a resignation, perhaps he hadn't actually done his term in office, then you should have actually given it back to people from North Central.
Well, Sly, you know, let me tell you, politics is all about how you robustly engage the process, how you carry people along, how you lobby, you know, the factors at play, and how you are able to build some level of understanding amongst the dominant players, the chieftains of the party and all of that. The issue of zoning is all about catering for the interests of the respective zones or geopolitical zones or even states, so that there will be a buy-in into what you're trying to do. But in this case, there must be a reason for going for Ganduje from the Northwest zone. And the party hierarchy and the machinery, you know, has done some level of consultations, robust engagement, constructive engagement, collective bargaining, try to see in this circumstance who best suits the particular position, that to put paid to all the distractions that were coming from the party, as it were. And so the president needs someone who he can trust. The president needs someone who has been with him, who has really stayed through, you know, the struggle for his own aspiration to come to fruition. And the president, to a large extent, will have trusted, you know, the new chairman, former governor of Kano, Ganduje, and to that extent, it is now led for him to reach out to other components of the party, other elements, other players, and find a way of building a synergy that can really launch the Ganduje chairmanship of the party. You know, one thing that you should be conscious of is the fact that you don't allow your party to be embroiled in crises, all manners of credibility problem in terms of persons and factors, and, you know, the skirmishes that would distract government from doing what it ought to do for the Nigerian people. So it is better for you to put pay to all of that by coming to a leadership that is acceptable to a wider majority of the members of the party, and, you know, forget about the party now, face governance, constitute your cabinet, and begin to hit.
If you allow me to come in here,
yeah.
I'll take two keywords you used, distraction and credibility. And if you also bring this to the wider public, the Nigerian people, they'll want to ask if this is how far the party intends to drive its party's future, knowing full well that back home in Nigeria's northwest state of Kano, there are talks specifically from the state government on some issues that borders on credibility of Mr. Ganduje. So aren't those likely to be distractions that may rear its head in the foreseeable future for your party?
Well, the home government of Ganduje is actually opposition. So you don't expect anything different from what they are doing. They will naturally play the role of opposition. They want to try to see how they can extract a pound of flesh from Ganduje, knowing the kind of volatile politics that, you know, that took place in Kano, and how that built up to the Guba elections of March 18, and that produced an opposition governor, kind of. But so far, until a man is proven guilty of any alleged crime, he remains not guilty before the law. And the law is very clear on it. Until a court of competent jurisdiction pronounces a man guilty of any allegation, they remain at the realm of allegation. So the Kano state government or governor or government may just be playing its own internal policy of trying to see that they are able to ruffle the feathers of Ganduje to a large extent. But I will advise that they better sit down, concentrate on governance, because there are quite a lot of things to achieve in Kano State, or to build, to improve on what is happening, than just mere demolition of structures and properties in the name of trying to, give Kano a new face, kind of. So for me, in as much as there are no crises in the party, the APC now, that's good rhythms, for good optics for the party and for the government. The president will now concentrate on governance. Is already pushing ministerial nominees to the National Assembly. Once the screenings are done with, maybe by tomorrow, maybe by next week, we've seen portfolio and all of that. Nigerians are yearning for, a proper takeoff of full cabinet structure, and that also is a challenge for the president to ensure that all of that is put behind him, and will commence the process of delivering the democratic dividends for Nigerians. And that much he said when he addressed the party leadership. And he spoke so much about his Renew Hope agenda. We'll
come back to the ministerial nominees, but quickly here, one last one here. It will be the future of your party, what you expect, knowing full well that building up to even the 2019 election and some other elections off-season, especially in Edo and a few other places, your party lost some states and some members, and even in the last election, Kano. So what do you think a Ganduje-led APC can do for your party, especially within the aggrieved groups in the APC?
Well, you see, the beauty of a multi-party democracy is for different parties to occupy different, cadre of positions in terms of governorship, in terms of lawmakers, senators, House of Reps, maybe chairman of local governments and what have you. You see, the more you have different philosophies and ideologies playing out at this level of governance, the better for a disparate, polity. Because Nigeria is made up of so many, complexities, so many disparities, and people can, you cannot pursue an aggressive policy of one-party state in Nigeria. The better you have multi-party democracy, multi-party persons getting elected into positions, the better for even deepening national conversation, deepening democracy. Because democracy has its own elemental undercurrents, and because people have to pander to what you are doing based on how it suits them. So you need a political party platform to just champion all of those aspirations. But Ganduje, for me, is somebody who is so committed to the party. You can't take that away from him. I remember in 2020 when he came to Edo for the governorship election, and I remember the kind of commitment, the kind of involvement he put into the whole process and all of that. And a lot of people, concede to the fact that yes, he's very pro-Tinubu as a person. He was one of those persons who moved, the northern governors, as it were, then 14 of them, to say that power should rotate to the south and all of that. So he's someone who enjoys the confidence of the president, and that kind of person is better suited than any other person who will look outside the party structure and begin to do things that will undercut the government.
Okay, let's talk about the ministerial nominees, because now, talking of Ganduje, it would seem as if that's what the president is also doing. If you look at the ministerial list and looking at how the votes were won by your party, the Northwest 30%, Southwest 25.9%, North Central 20%, Northeast, just like that down. And if you now look at the make and the slots allocated, it is also clearly indicative of how the votes came for your party, as we've seen Northwest having 10 slots, Southwest 9 slots, Northeast 8 slots, North Central 8, and down till about to Southeast. No, Southeast 7 slots, and the Southeast 5 slots.
Well, for me, I don't think there is anything bad with having those slots, because I think the president knows exactly where he's taking the country and not necessarily where the country is taking him. That's why 8.7 million Nigerians endorse him as our preferred candidate and he emerged as president of the country. And for me, those slots, like you call them, don't forget that the northwestern states are 7 in the country. And so it's just like 7, slot plus 3. So there's no big deal about that. The other states are 6, and the southeast 5. If there's a compelling reason to expand the slot, I'm sure he's going to do that. But again, because of the enormous responsibility, enormous challenges confronting the country as it were right now, you are pressured to take more hands that will simplify the job of trying to ensure that every department of government, every ministry, every segment is given adequate attention.
More hands. I think that's a fine place for us to go on a break. You're not going, you're still here. We'll come back to you so that we can expatiate more on this. You're watching Arise Prime Time. Plenty more still ahead. I'll be joined alongside Kasim Afegbua, the policy strategist and political commentator Baba Yusuf, to assess the president's list of ministerial nominees and how the potential cabinet will help convey the president's vision of a renewed hope. Stay with us. Welcome back to Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day with me, Sulaiman Alede. Now, the second and final list, that is, of ministerial nominees has been sent to the Senate for screening and confirmation. 2 women and 5 former governors are included on the list of 19 nominees. It brings the total number of President Tinubu's ministerial nominees to 47. Now, well, I still have Kasim Afegbua, who is a member of the ruling All Progressives Congress, and joining me now is the policy strategist, political commentator, and group CEO of the global investment and trade company, Baba Yusuf. Good to have you join me, and thanks for your time, Baba. Quickly, let's have a feel of what this is about.
For the second time in 1 week, the Senate invoked relevant sections of its rule book to permit the emissary from President Bola Tinubu, in the person of his Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, to deliver the second batch of the list of those the President wants to hire into his cabinet. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, later unveiled the list of 19 ministerial nominees. Prominent on the list are 5 former governors: Adegboyega Oyetola from Osun State, Atiku Bagudu from Kebbi State, Simon Lalong from Plateau State, Bello Matawalle from Zamfara State, and Ibrahim Gendam, Yobe State.
In compliance with the provisions of Section 147, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, and further to my earlier correspondence dated 27th day of July, 2023, I am pleased to forward to you the underlisted 19 ministerial nominees for confirmation by the Senate.
Also on the list are former National Assembly members. These include Senator Heineken Lokobre from Bayelsa State and Senator Aliu Sabi from Niger State. Former member of the House of Representatives, Zephaniah Jisalo from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. It's the first time in the Fourth Republic that an indigene of the Federal Capital Territory will be nominated for ministerial appointment since 1999. Others are Uba Meigari, Tunji Alausa, Tanko Sununu, Lola Adejon, Tahir Mama, Alkali Ahmed, Shuaibu Abubakar, Isaac Salako, Bosun Tijani, Miriam Shetty, and Ahmed Tijani to complete the list of ministerial nominees. The screening of the second batch of nominees will begin on Friday. Before this, the Senate had concluded the screening of the first batch of ministerial nominees same day, where the minority leader was ruled out of order for asking the ministerial nominee from Ekiti State, Dele Alaki, to recite the second stanza of the national anthem.
He appears to have brought politics into this thing by asking the nominee standing before us to recite any of the stanzas of the national anthem, which of course is a piece of cake. But because that had not been our tradition, and we have not done this to any of the other nominees, if I did not say this, I'm moving that question or request be expunged. Because if it is not, and we rule that he will not recite it, it will look as if we had something to hide. It is irrelevant to the extent of the provisions of Order 52 sub 4, and I so move.
The leadership of the Senate also rose in strong defense of Alake, the right-hand man of President Bola Tinubu, shielding him from responding to allegations that refer to some opposition members as wild dogs on his social media handle.
I've read on social media, sir, your statement concerning other political parties during the election. I read a statement where you label supporters of a particular presidential candidate as wild dogs, you know, buying blood on social media. Have you come across that statement? Are you aware of it? Did you say that?
Campaigns are over. We are now in governance. That is why once you pass through that door, you are coming into the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Alake had earlier told lawmakers that without internal national security, road and electricity infrastructure, not much can be done to boost investments in tourism. Alake pushed strongly for press freedom, but not in absolute terms and without a sense of responsibility. Next was the ministerial nominee from Niger State, Mohammed Idris, the publisher of Blueprint newspaper, who answered questions on the media and several national issues. The Senate also grilled the ministerial nominee from Kwara State, Lateef Fagbemi, one of the lead counsels to President Tinubu at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. The Senate rounded off the screening with the nominees from Bauchi State, renowned medical expert Professor Ali Pate and finance expert Doris Uzoka from Imo State. Omo Bazwaye, Arise News.
Many thanks, Omo. Now let's dig in deep. I still have with me Prince Kasim Afegbua and Baba Yusuf. Gentlemen, thanks for your time. And this is time for Nigerians, irrespective of party divide, to be objective about what could work and what may not work. Now, tell us about the final list. First, you've seen it. By the way, we're talking about the slots, Northwest giving 10 slots, and some people have started asking how some names made it to the list. What were your initial thoughts when you saw the final batch?
Thank you, Suleiman. To be honest, yesterday, I was taken aback with the list I saw. A couple of weeks ago, I was in a forum where I was dissecting expectations with regards to this ministerial appointments, and I posited that there are three key, reasons why you reward, people with appointments. One is you deliver the numbers during elections. Two is long-standing loyalty and service to the principal, the likes of Wale Edun, the likes of Dele Alake, for example. And for every, dispensation, not just in Nigeria, in the United States and the UK, then you use that opportunity to inject freshness of technocratic prowess to drive your governance moving forward. With these three variables, you are sure that you are balancing the power and you'll be sure-footed based on your vision and the vision of the party. So when I saw the names yesterday, with due respect to the names that are there, I was quite taken aback, because if we look at the states, for example, and the principal players and people that took risks, to support the party and went all out, and I started asking myself, what happened? This is quite unlike President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that I know, the man that rewards loyalty, performance, and all that. And then, even though I saw the mix of the initial list, which was okay in terms of some governors coming on board, party men, of course, that have delivered numbers for him in their states or whatever. But there's a lot of deviation from the standards of the norms. We see states where people contested as gubernatorial candidates and they put in their resources and all that, and they lost. Mostly we see them being rewarded with ministerial slots. We see completely unknown people, not from the point of view of technocratic prowess.
These are unknown people?
Yes, and I will explain. It is either you are known as a technocrat, whether international or in country, or you are known in the political space, either as an operative or as a frontline political actor. All right, and that is what I mean by known, with due respect to those people. Whether it is in the industry, you are a top line person or whatever. We saw people that have come out, obviously due to political permutations, but I've been asking myself since last night, what kind of value would these people bring, despite the CVs that we have seen, obviously promoted to put people, to make them look, they have the capacity. Look, the seriousness of the situation of Nigeria goes beyond sentiment here. We are at a crossroads, and we have a president that has fantastic antecedents. But indeed, by virtue of his age and the complexity of playing at the national level, we expect him to have the right people that will support him moving forward. I'm worried and wary of the president being caught up in what I call the entrapment of the conspiracy of establishment. If people follow my columns, say the entrapment of the conspiracy of the establishment is where you have people surrounding you by virtue of their position to slow you down.
Just hold your thoughts there. I'll come back to you, Baba Yusuf, so that we can start looking at some of the resume of some of these people. The little we can really, will do that. But again, Kasim, he's given 3 key, criteria, and you have also used some of that by talking about loyalty and those who also delivered. Are there places you thought that the president may have actually deviated, just the way Baba Yusuf has said?
Well, let me start on this note by saying that I pray, and I will join President Tinubu to pray, because it means well for the country, that he gets his renewed hope agenda right in terms of the persons that he has elected to nominate to preside over the ministries. He needs our prayers, because power is a crazy aphrodisiac. It makes men blind to their intentions and build a courtier around the man who means well for a country to derail. But in this case, with respect to the ministerial nominees, I don't have any problem, because I have not tested those persons. When those persons are given portfolios and we're able to begin to see how they're able to respond to the challenges confronting us as a nation, then we'll begin to put 1 + 1 together to see how suitable or unsuitable they have been or they are with respect to those portfolios. And knowing President Bola Tinubu as a governor in Lagos, if you are not performing, even if you are 3 months old in the job, the following day you hear your name on television that you have been removed. Somebody else will replace you. He has done it in Lagos with his commissioners and all of that, because he's a go-getter. He's somebody who wants to achieve what he has set out. He has, his agenda, his vision, right, in his mental faculty, and he knows exactly where he's headed. And so to that extent, fine. I would want to make a point here, and this point is, I'm hoping that those in the presidency will hear this, because we're all part and parcel of this process. The nominee from Bayelsa, Lokbobiri Heniken, did not work for APC. I wouldn't know the rationale. There's a young man who presided over the campaigns in Bayelsa called Priye Aganaba. He's from OD. I saw visuals and all that, because I was in the media team, and we related with these people a lot. That kind of a person ought to be patronized. He's an engineer, he's
Let me stop you there quickly.
Yes.
I'll come back so that we can talk more. We have a breaking story. News just coming in. Former President Donald Trump has arrived at the federal courthouse. These are live visuals, you see, of the courthouse in Washington, D.C., where the former President Donald Trump has just turned himself in on criminal charges relating to Special Counsel Jack Smith's probe into attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Trump will be placed under arrest and arraigned in court for the third time in 4 months. He's expected to plead not guilty and be released pending trial. Once again, if you're just joining us, these are live images coming in from the Washington, D.C. courthouse where the former President Donald Trump has been arraigned on the issues concerning the 2020 election. We keep our eyes on this, and as it unfolds, we bring you more on this, and you can also get to watch us on more to get update on arise.tv. We'll come back to this, and I'm hoping that he just said that specifically there are people, and he said specifically Heineken Lopopiri did not work for the party, but he was amazed. That's a party man speaking. Now, are there people, because your analytical mind, we understand that some people in the Northwest where they have 10 slots are also complaining that there are people who shouldn't have made the list. Specifically, people of Kano State are also complaining is out there in the news. Speak to us on what this means for the president and his strong loyalists in these places.
My concern for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that some of us believe that he is the right leader at the right time for Nigeria. The concern is the initial sure-footedness, the boldness, and the forward-thinking nature they started, and the way and manner this list came out yesterday, to my mind, speaks volume about the potential future, politically and economically. With regards to the Northwest, for example, in the case of Kano State, there were names that people were expecting to see, and then we saw names that were pulling up a stripe. One may say it's the prerogative of Mr. President, but then to add it to what my fellow panelists also said, that we know him as a performance-driven leader. And to that extent, possibly in 6 months, 1 year, we may see him reshuffling cabinet and offloading people that become deadweights. But then my concern is, well, like what I said, it could be deja vu if Mr. President becomes an entrapped leader that we saw, in the case of President Muhammad Buhari, when he came into power and he became encircled and entrapped, and he became a totally different personality than the person we know, very assertive, very domineering and front-facing like Buhari. So, and the dynamics of politics, Suleiman, 2027 is like tomorrow, right? And a lot of things will be taking place. People that have stuck their neck out in these very highly contested elections may likely change position before 2027. And people that don't have what I call political capital, that have zero balance sheet to come to the table, I wonder what value they will bring for the APC and for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Like what? Sorry to cut you there. We have on the screen someone who is also from Nigeria's Northwest, Mariam Shatima, famously known as Mariam Shati. She's a national leader of the We Believe APC support group and a graduate of Bayero University, Kano. The excitement or otherwise would mean you have a Nigerian woman who's made the list.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. She's a leader of the party, hitherto not known. That shouldn't be an issue. But the point is, within the context of Kano politics, one of the biggest, game changers of politics in Nigeria, and the critical players that we know who have given their best in the last 10 years. Even don't forget that this journey started very tough with the formation, the amalgamation, or the consolidation of the party. Ab initio in 2014, people risked their lives, took a leap of faith, and we didn't see any one of them coming forward or being listed as it case may be. One may argue that there are almost 2,000 other appointments to come, on board. But then this is one of the first foot forwards to demonstrate political recognition by Mr. President. So I want to see how Mr. President will manage those power blocks going forward, because don't forget, even the APC is a formation of power blocks. So even if you pick some of those that have worked hard from the CPC, AMPP, PDP blocks, you still have an issue, talk less of when you obviously maybe might have done away with all these critical stakeholders. I want to see, what will happen in the next coming days with regards to this issue.
Yeah, quickly as we're winding down, I saw Gisalo there. If we can go back to Senator Gisalo, that's one big one that many people have. Yes, for FCT, saying that the president got this now born in 1970, and he's actually done pretty well in politics. And he's a member. He was a member of the Federal House of Representatives, representing.
He was also chairman of the Municipal Area Council. That's the main.
So it's the first time the FCT is.
Well, it's a welcome development.
A minister.
It's a welcome development because Abuja has been given the status of a state, even by our constitution, irrespective of all the agitations and what people are talking about. 25%. It can be more superior to any state of this country, and the people of the aborigines of the FCT who were resettled in different places have always advocated that they should give them that recognition. Even some of them, including Gisalo, also made case for mayoral recognition. They want to have a mayor of the FCT, and just like you have governors of state and all of that. I think this is a good step in the right direction. But just to talk on the ministerial generally, I think we must give credit to the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's someone who did not inherit any political dynasty in this country. We know him as somebody who has fought through the trenches, somebody who fought for democracy, who has been on the street championing pro-democracy events and what have you. He became a governor. From there, he joined he has remained a progressive, so to speak. And even when the allure of getting involved in ruling parties came on stream, he never left his own opposition party role until the merger of APC, of all those parties to form the APC, came to fruition in 2014. Now 2015 there was victory and APC became a ruling party. So in choosing persons, he may have behind his mind what he wants from them, but from the interaction I had with him during the campaigns, one-on-one interactions, I know that even those who worked with him in Lagos can testify that if they appoint you to any ministry and at cabinet meetings you are found wanting in terms of your expertise or experience or understanding of the issues, as it were, the following day you hear your name on television that you've been relieved of your responsibility. That much he can do because he knows he has a task at hand and he needs to deliver on those tasks.
Quickly, if we can do this in a minute, because we're out of time. I was going to ask you your thought on Niger, and because still speaking about President Tinubu, who is the leader of ECOWAS at this moment. What's the best solution? Military or operation?
No. You see, you need to intervene in Niger with some level of diplomacy, high diplomacy. We don't need any gunshots at our backyard or releasing bullets and what have you in our backyard, because we are next door neighbor to Niger. We share common boundaries in the northern part of the country. And by the time you look at what is happening in the West Africa sub-region, you have Guinea, you have Burkina Faso, Mali, you have Chad and all of that. It is not healthy for us. I would prefer the president deploy high, volatile, sensitive, and respected delegation of foreign diplomats, of Nigerian diplomats who have had experience in all of these places, and also reach out to former presidents who have relationships with some of these persons in this other state, so that you can robustly discuss the issues and find a soft landing for the man who is a copist, General Chani, and the man who is being held hostage. Because if you deploy military action, they are holding hostage the president. They can easily kill him and his members of his cabinet. Then where do we go from there?
That's a good place for us to leave it. Prince Kasim Afegbua, Baba Yusuf, many thanks for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.